out there. My name is Laolu Akonde, and you are on to Inside Sources. Today I'm skipping my take as I want to delve into a full discussion, a State of the Nation review of some of the things that has happened in our country. Inside Sources will be right back. Today I want to have a full discussion on the State of the Nation, looking specifically at 2027 and the problem, the persistent recurrent problem of insecurity. So to join me in that important conversation, I have a veteran journalist, a retired banker, and a public commentator, Mr. Etim.
Thank you, my brother.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
So the way it's going, it seems the politicians are confusing us big time. We have a very serious resurgence of insecurity in Plateau State, in Benue State. We have also heard of what happened in Kwara. You know, before that time, Borno State Governor raised an alarm. We had terrorist attacks in Adamawa. And now you have the politicians doing their thing, defecting. You know, the president was away for over 2 weeks. Correct. He comes back, and the first big news that we are dealing with is that you have a number of significant PDP governors defecting. Etim, how do you interpret all of this, you know, just to take off this conversation?
First, it's shocking. I'm disappointed, and I'm sorry that this is happening under the watch of a president that we trusted would make a difference. Now, he left, and we were told that he went for retreat.
Yeah.
I don't know of any president who goes on a retreat all by himself. A retreat is usually for the cabinet or the team to review and project. So that he went all by himself, I could not understand what kind of retreat that was. Now he came back to a nation that was under siege and on edge. The states you've mentioned were under attack. Over 300 people were killed when the president was aware. And a new terrorist group, Mahmuda, or whatever the name is, has emerged. And as you said, the first thing we heard was some PDP governors were going to, in fact, this happened when he was aware. Some PDP governors were preparing to defect. And yesterday, Delta State governor defected. This is very bad for our democracy. Very serious problem for the polity. We are heading for a one-party state like Zimbabwe. So APC will become ZANU-PF.
No, I don't agree with that.
No, I agree. It's heading that way. I understand that these governors are being compelled to defect.
Interesting.
Some of them are saying, no, we won't defect. Some of them, like the one in Akwa Ibom, the governor of Akwa Ibom, is saying, I won't defect, but I'm going to support the president and the Senate president. Is still under pressure.
Okay. So
it's a very serious problem. Never before have we seen this in the country, and it bodes very badly for the development of the country.
So let's say that's a very good opening comments. Let me also make some opening comments, and then we look at it one by one. I think that I think the situation of insecurity in our country, and it's a recurrent problem, you know, demands of our political leaders the kind of decisiveness that we have not seen in over a decade.
Yes.
If we are going to end this thing, we have to end it. And that was why I just felt that when the president came back, that ought to be
the first thing. I thought there would be a policy announcement.
Yeah, well, you know, he did. He had a meeting, you know, I think a day.
That was almost a routine meeting.
You know, with the security chief.
Yes.
But my own beef with that, you know, if I can describe it that way, is that after the meeting, it was the NSA that came out, you know, to talk about that the president is not satisfied. I said, where is the president himself? When he was away, look, in other climes, a president that is away will come back.
Would have rushed back.
All right, but okay.
That level of problem in the country would have rushed back.
But let's say that, all right, yeah, he had things that he had set up to do. All right, fine. But then when he comes back, where is his face? The Aston Villa released a photo of him sitting on a couch.
The meeting was in
the meeting was not
setting.
even, there was no formal, it wasn't a round table, it was as if they were meeting him on the other side of his dining table. Now, all of that sends very poor image of this government.
The optics was so bad.
And then the president could not come
even
out
talk
himself
to
say
speak
that,
to
look,
the nation.
I met these guys, I summoned them the minute I got here, and we can't take this no more. No, he didn't do that. And then, the same day, as a matter of fact, we heard news from Delta State that, on your mandate, it is so shattering, to somebody like me, let me say this and then I'll revert to you. I'm giving President Bola Ahmed Tinubu the entire 4 years, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I will continue to nudge him, publicly, because I know that the people who serve inside, for the most part, and I'm not saying that all of them, for the most part, they don't have the ability or the courage to even look at their leaders and tell them exactly what they need to hear. There are those who do that, even in this government, I know them. But some of us who support the president have decided that we will call him out publicly for his own good and for the good of the country.
I think the president is facing two critical problems or challenges. Number one is his re-election, which he's entitled to.
Yeah.
And now he's facing a situation in which the northern half of the country has rebelled against him. And as I've said publicly, even APC governors, APC members, strong members, are saying publicly that they are not going to support the president. Some like who did that? Rufai left? Rufai has left. Yeah. Professor Zulum has spoken publicly against the president.
But he hasn't said he will leave or not.
He hasn't said, but he doesn't need to say. Yeah. But a whole lot of other people are threatening. Baba Ahmed, who served only until last week, has left and is saying the same thing. These people are echoing the sentiment in the north. And this has been going on for the past 1 year. So the president's team has received the message and are coming back, and the strategy is the whole of the 17 southern governors must support APC, especially the 8 opposition governors, the 8 non-APC governors in the south must support APC. Either they must defect to APC or walk towards the election of the president. So the calculation is to get the south, 17 states, and then walk towards another 7 states, and you have 24 states. Yeah.
Which was what Obasanjo did in 2003.
Correct.
At least attempted to, yeah.
That's what Obasanjo did. But now, this is bringing unexpected outcomes. The governors are being forced, they are defecting, they are getting their eyes off the ball. Insecurity is resurging across the country. So, what can this president do to redeem his image? His supporters are disappointed. They might not say so. The country is very disappointed. They held him in very high esteem. The expectations were very high. That this was the Bola Tinubu we knew in 1999 till 2007. What has happened? This president has to sit up and redeem his image.
Well, I mean, I agree that he has to do something. And, quite frankly, in my view, he still has time. I don't think he has used the last 23 months, optimally. But I think he still have enough time to sort himself out and save his legacy. But let's go back to the issue of, let's talk more about the governors now. I mean, this defection that we see, the calculation for 2027. First of all, let me say that I don't think that Nigeria can default to a one-party state. Now, I see the fear of people that the PDP governors are coming in and stuff, but that has normally often happened. There will always be a remnant, a significant remnant of political elites who will never look eye to eye to each other.
Yes.
And then the Nigerian people themselves, they will repress it. They will find a way to sort it. I think the best that can happen is to have two parties, but one seems to be really way ahead of the other. I don't have any fear about one-party state in Nigeria. It's not going to happen, in my view.
Why do you think so?
Yeah, exactly. Just because, for instance, so you're going to find implacable political elites, who the president will not be able to reconcile with, people who are sufficiently, gone far,
But if that set of people is reduced to a small conclave in one corner of the country, it's almost as if we are a one-party state.
Yeah, well, so that's what I'm saying, that it's possible to...
Although, of course, this is not unprecedented. In 1999, 2003, it was only AD that was...
And that's the point. So look at what happened in 1999, specifically 2003.
Okay.
Look at what happened. So AD had become... Well, they were AD up till after that election.
Yes.
And then, Obasanjo cleared...
Everywhere
except
remaining Lagos.
Except Lagos. And the guy who did Lagos is now the president. And he was able
to withstand
by just himself.
One state.
He built up, he built up the opposition. And then he got to a point and he figured out, look, let me ally with the other guy in the north who is also in opposition, Muhammadu Buhari. So I believe that you will still find that kind of realignment of those who are implacably opposed, like Tinubu was implacably opposed to Obasanjo,
yes.
And Muhammadu Buhari also was not going to. They even yelled him to come to PDP too, So my theory is that there will always be people that are not just going to play ball, and then they will find the support of the Nigerian people who don't want a one-party state. But let's look closely into the question of why is it that those opposition. So we have in this country, we have Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, a former vice president, a consummate politician, but he's failing, in my view, big time as a political opposition. We have Peter Obi. Peter Obi even does a good show. He's all over the place, showing his face, but he can't even hold his party together. And then you now have even sitting PDP governors like Sheriff Oberweri in Delta capitulating. If I'm going to go with what you have insinuated, which a lot of people are saying, that maybe they are harassing them.
They are harassing them.
Maybe
some of them are even being shown EFCC reports. Or their predecessors, EFCC reports of their predecessors.
So my point, so that I can land at him is that, so it turns out that the people who are in opposition don't have the courage.
They are weaklings.
They are weaklings. They are no gods.
They are weaklings.
They are so faint-hearted. And it will seem to me that if Nigeria is ever going to get a break in its political fortunes, it seems to me that it will never come from these political characters.
I had always known that this is not the generation of leaders and politicians that will change this country. I had always seen that they are opportunistic in nature and very cavalier in outlook. We are waiting for another set, not this one. Atiku had the promise years ago. I had thought that he would be a strong opposition leader. In fact, in 2007, I wrote Atiku a personal letter. 2006, 2007. Okay. I asked him to stay in PDP then, or whatever, he said APP was in, and
PDP was the ruling party then.
Yes, and build it to become a very strong party. I wrote him a personal letter. Garba Shehu was his
maybe you mean ACN after he left PDP, because in 2007,
yes,
remember,
ACN, yes.
Yeah.
I asked him, stay and build a strong party and build your reputation. Unfortunately, he moved around. Yeah. Atiku seems to be driven by his ambition.
Yeah.
He is beclouded by ambition. He does not have the long-term view, the big grand vision.
Yeah.
He doesn't have.
Yeah.
And now, at almost 80, he's here in PDP as the opposition leader, But unfortunately, his party men, even his governors, don't respect him.
No.
Because he has not been living up to expectations.
He's not been leading them.
He's not been leading them. So that leaves the field in disarray. So you have El Rufai going to SDP to be talking from there, and you have Peter Obi in Labour. Nobody knows how long he would be in Labour and where he's going. So the whole opposition is in disarray. And that is why President Tinubu and APC are taking advantage of them.
Clearly, I agree with you. And you will expect, for instance, that somebody like Atiku will be able to say that, look, you know what, Nigeria is in serious crisis, and I have the clout. You know, I have some political clout left. I'm going to be 80. You will expect that somebody like Atiku will say, let's just get one good guy,
yes,
who can get this job done, and who we can sell to Nigeria. Why do you think that is difficult for an Atiku Abubakar to do?
Because many years ago, somebody prophesied that he was going to be president, and he bought it hook, line, and sinker. So he's pursuing that prophecy. He believes that he's...
Oh, boy.
He believes that he would be president one day. It's a tragedy of immense proportion.
It is.
It's a tragedy.
It is. Let's discuss one more thing about 2027, and then we come back full blast to insecurity, and then we conclude. I think that whatever happens, you know, the presidency must stay in the South for another 4 years.
Absolutely.
Now, we have seen people like Baba Ahmed, you know, the guy who was until recently the political advisor to the vice president, come out and say the North is going to decide in another 6 months. You know, nobody can win without it. I thought that was not only arrogant, I think that was a breach on what I consider to be one national consensus that Nigerians share about rotational presidency, 8 in the North, 8 in the South. The same thing that El Rufai said, that, well, you know, if we get to 2027 and we don't find anybody in the South, yeah, we send somebody in the North. I think that under no condition should we have power go to the other region until one region has finished 8 years. Except, you know, just like the time of Yaradua, you know, the constitution has to, but short of that, you know, I think it is wrong, it is irresponsible, it doesn't show equity, you know, that you have, gentlemen like El Rufai and Buba Ahmed.
El Rufai and Baba Ahmed are speaking out of anger, malice, and frustration. I don't think their views represent the generality of the North. I think and I believe that the generality of the North and a lot of the elites in the North have bought into this rotation. 8 years, 8 years. Yeah. But El Rufai himself, in the dying days of President Buhari, was rooting for a southern president.
Yes, to his credit.
So it is his falling out with the incumbent president that has set him off. And once a politician is angry, he can undo the house he built. He can rewrite the constitution he wrote. He can say anything he will regret after. Baba Ahmed has been a loose cannon of an irredentist.
Yeah, somebody said that he's a member of the 4-member Northern Elders Forum. 4 members.
4 members.
He's the
spokesman of that. He has been in that mold for a very long time. So he wants to, I think he wants to rattle the president. They are all have personal issues with
and this is the problem, you know.
And that's the problem. They allow their personal grievances. A Nigerian politician will allow his personal grievances to become his vision for the country. He will clothe it. Yeah. He will clothe his personal grievances as if that is his national development plan for the next 20 years. That's the problem for President.
But although, you know, you will consider there is quite a bit of discontent in the North regarding this administration.
Because the North, the major economic mainstay of the North has been destroyed. And that's agriculture. By insecurity.
But do they realize that this problem did not start under this president?
They will realize it, but they wouldn't accept it publicly. They realize it. But,
how do you think they play?
But this is the president they have on seat now, and they are the ones they are blaming. The North is in a very difficult state, and that's affecting the whole of the country. Because if they don't produce food, we won't eat. And that's why there's serious food inflation in the country today. These presidents just have to do something.
Yeah, he's got to sit up.
He got to sit up.
Yeah.
Because I sit up and fight insecurity. Fight insecurity.
I mean, the only way that I see, and then this will be my last point, and then we move to the other point, you have the last word. The only way I think that, any opposition can crystallize against him in a way that creates a little bit of contest is if the opposition people come together and support a southern candidate. What do you think?
I think so, but again, there's a problem with throwing up a new southern candidate. So he's going to stay 8 years, the new person, if he wins. He's going to stay 8 years. And the North will say, that will add up to 12 years. What are we going to do? So the President Tinubu will say, you rather just wait.
Just stick with me.
Stick with me.
What about former President Jonathan? He has only one term left constitutionally.
But nobody's talking about him. Is there? He himself is not enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, certainly.
Maybe he's keeping it low for now.
Yeah. Okay, let's conclude on this issue of insecurity. So, if you look at the problem, I mean, you're also a journalist. We were both journalists. We have looked at this thing. I was even in government. I think it is the decisiveness of the political elite that is missing.
Correct.
And I'm thinking that why do we have all the other leaders in this country who are not politicians? Why are they silent? Why are they not making a big deal of this insecurity? What is happening in Plateau is that, an ethnic group, and I don't want to keep mentioning the name so that it doesn't seem as if, because it's just a group among them. This doesn't represent them. They are taking people's land. They are killing people. In Plateau, the governor of Plateau says 60 communities. Can you imagine that? 60 communities have been taken over by this group, taken over, but through killings and violence.
That's true.
Now, so my point, Etim, so that you put it all together, is that why are our religious leaders, traditional leaders, leaders of thought, academic leaders, why are they silent? Why are they not saying that, look, let us solve this insecurity problem? People are dying needless deaths. Etim.
Well, they have been speaking, these people, maybe not loudly enough, but the point is, there's a recent revelation that these killers are actually not Nigerians. They're coming from outside the country.
Yeah. And some of them have even settled for quite a bit of time.
Yes. And
from Mali, Mauritius.
They are coming from the Sahel.
Yeah.
Coming down south. And last year, BBC reported that they will be invading Nigeria through Benin Republic. Yes, it was reported because they had just last year invaded Burkina Faso and killed over 600 people. And BBC did very interesting documentary and said, next target, Nigeria, watch out. This is coming to your doorstep. I think this is what we are having. Why the government, our military, is not rising up to the challenge is baffling. Do they want the country to be overrun before?
Well, some of the retired generals have said to me that the military and and possibly the police too don't get a sense that the political leaders, that it's like they're getting a mixed signals from the political leaders. That if the political leaders stand up and say, hey, look, let's end this thing, and they don't see any contradictory body language. I mean, many of the generals
that is absolutely very correct, because up there in the north, you see some kind of either contradiction or hesitation in condemning this, or the language is different. Yeah. Some will say, oh, the killings are bad, but allow them to settle. Some will say, oh, no, they can't settle at all. They should come and buy the land. So there is no definite pronouncement that these people are external aggressors, invaders, that they are at war with us.
the country.
Yes. That is what we need to hear.
Yeah, yeah, and that was why, you know, just
we shouldn't mistake them for the headers that go about
their own business of
yes, those ones pose some kind of insecurity or security threat to. They enter farmlands and eat the crops in the farms, but these ones are not the headers.
These are
real terrorists.
Yeah, you know, using the opportunity to cause mayhem. Well, you know, we continue to urge our political leaders, especially the president, to really, really do his legacy a good and do this country a great good by ending this problem or significantly reducing it.
By now, there's no reason why we shouldn't have state police. More boots on the ground.
Yeah.
That is the solution to this problem.
More boots on the ground, whether it's police or military.
Yes.
You know, so that all these ungoverned territories where they go to do their attacks are properly managed. All right. I mean, thank you so much, Mr. Etim. You know, 2027 is shaping out to be a very, very interesting.
It's going to be a very interesting year. A new INEC chairman would be appointed in November.
By the end of this year, yeah.
Yes. Mahmoud is finishing his 10 years.
Yeah.
That will give a direction, some kind of signal,
some indication
on what to
happen.
expect. The hand, Tinubu's hand in the game ahead.
I mean, to wrap up the conversation, thank you again, Mr. Etim, for coming to Inside Sources.
Anytime.
All right. Thank you so much. And then Inside Sources will be right back. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, I have a guest who is a man of many parts and wears a lot of hats. It's a medical doctor, a writer, an author, used to be a newspaper columnist, a politician, and a former member of the House of Representatives. Was formerly the president of the Association of Nigerian Authors and is currently the Secretary General and the Chief Executive Officer of the Pan-African Writers Association that is based in Accra, Ghana. Well, that's power. I am delighted to welcome to Inside Sources Dr. Wale Okediran. Doctor, it's good to see you in Abuja.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming.
Thanks for inviting me.
All right, so it's a conversation on the future of Nigeria.
Yes.
So I would normally ask my guests, you know, and I'd like to ask you that if you look at where Nigeria is today, where do you think we are going?
Yes. Well, thank you. I agree with you that it's nice to do some stock taking at this moment in Nigeria, particularly with all that is happening around us. Inflation is there. You have some poverty. You have, from the medical point of view, cases of malnutrition and all these things happening among our children. And then, of course, the problem of insurgency, of banditry is still there. And I agree with you that sometimes when you look at this, you get worried about the future of the country. It's a very challenging period. My own take on this is that, well, this is happening, and we have two options. One is to give up. One is to continue to look for solutions. And I believe that as a country, our future depends on how we can survive all that is happening around us. Some people will tell you that, well, what is happening is not limited to Nigeria. That is, the economy is bad all over the world. Inflation is everywhere, and things are happening. They will give you example of Gaza. They give you example of Ukraine, and all the wars that are happening around us. But I still believe that Nigeria, if you look at where we are coming from, we would have expected a great improvement, and not something like we are either a stagnation, or even you call it a backsliding in our affairs. So for me, I think all of us need to put on our thinking caps to see what we can do. I keep saying this because of my nature of my job now. I'm in charge of writers in 54 African countries, and I travel a lot around the continent. I see what is happening. I see that some countries that are not as buoyant as Nigeria have a peaceful environment. Some are poorer than Nigeria, but they are still peaceful. So we need to borrow from our other countries and see how they are doing their stuff that is making them to be surviving in a good way. At the same time, we also need to listen to our people and see where they need to. I mean, we need to listen to them and hearken to their calls wherever they do so. Look at what they are asking for. You want to reduce the inflation. You want to improve security. You want to improve power supply. I just came back from a stay in Morocco, where 80% of the power supply is from solar energy. I mean, these are some of the things we need to look at. Yeah, how can an African country be able to survive on solar?
So do they even use solar for the industries?
Yes, they do. Yeah, I was surprised myself when I said, you use it. He said, yes, that once you have enough power from solar, then you have a way of setting it through some batteries.
Okay.
That
like inverters?
Yes, high power batteries and co. That can carry all these things.
Wow.
They use almost everything on solar. So these are some of the things we need to learn from our African brothers. We don't even need to go to Europe before we learn this.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, thank you for those opening comments. And, you know, by the very nature of your current job as the Secretary General of the Pan-African Writers Association, you are based in Accra.
Yes.
You know, so we have the opportunity to even look at the continental dimensions. Do you think that if Nigeria were to maintain the claim that we are the giant of Africa, are we then, you know, do we fit the claim currently?
Well, for me, you see, when we look at our size and look at our economy, I mean, for example, I think the last statistics I read, that Nigeria, I think we are still among the best 5 strongest economy in Africa. Yes.
We used to be number one.
Number one, yes. And then again, I think among the highest IMF in debtors, Nigeria is not among the first 10. So we look at that and say, okay, maybe that's fine. But then we come back and say, oh, power supply is not good at all. Security is not good at all. And these are some of the areas where we need to really work on our country. Because power supply alone can give you a big turnaround. I mean, constant regular power supply. For example, Ghana is not as rich as Nigeria, but because of their relatively stable power supply, a lot of people have access to doing something to do.
Right.
The low-income earners can run their businesses. Maybe it's cold storage they are dealing with, or they are doing iron melting, or even ordinary mechanic work. Work continues till late at night. And then because there's power supply, the street lights are on in the night. It also helps security. No dark patches. So these are some of the areas we need to work on, so that if we want to really call ourselves giant of Africa, we really need to do all these things. We still have the population on our side. Yeah. We have the economy on our side. The economy of Lagos State alone is bigger than Ghana, the whole of Ghana. So we have the resources. If only we can tighten our belt and do and solve all these problems.
Good. So what do you think is responsible for the fact that we have not actualized ourselves, that we are still struggling with electricity supply, you know, that we still have a lot of poverty? And one of the things that I am really, that really worries me is the level of poverty.
Yes.
It's quite appalling.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, what do you think is what factors do you think are most responsible for the fact that we are not where we ought to be?
Yes.
Because it seems that's what.
I think the first thing I would say is the approach to the economy, the decision to take care of the decision to increase the fuel price.
Well, you mean that's the subsidy removal?
Subsidy removal, yes. That first one. And because we know that fuel is required for almost everything we did.
Yeah.
So that subsidy removal was the first thing that really knocked us down. Whatever the economists may say as a long-term benefit.
Right.
The initial, the short-term benefit was a bit grueling on our people. And then again, I still believe that the corruption is still a big issue.
Yeah.
Because people say it, I can't confirm it, that almost as high as 30% of our national income is in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
Is generated by corruption. I mean,
Sure, I will say more than 30%.
More than 30%, okay. Especially when I was coming here, the driver I wanted to use, the car had a fault. So I had to take a Bolt car. So as soon as we entered the Guzape, and the fellow just laughed. I would say, oh, these are beautiful buildings here. He said, sir, they are our money. It's all built by our money. So the perception out there,
of course,
is that the corruption is so high that it's causing a lot of problem. And then, of course, I mentioned it before, power supply, because that one, I mean, is when you have a country where you have to generate your own power supply by yourself, you have to, some companies cannot cope, some businesses, hotels, 24 hours on the generator, buying diesel at an alarming rate. So these are the issues for me that have already, that are compounding our problems.
Right.
And then when that happens, our people lose their humanity. People do anything they want to do. I came in from Lagos yesterday by air. Almost every point in the airport, people are trying to get something from you. You go to use the toilet, you want to wash your hand before you know somebody is trying to pour water on your hand, trying to pour soap on your hand, and then we want to give you tissue paper to clean your hand, and just because they want to get something from you. And so it was a lot too. Yeah. So it's such a depressing. I'm not saying that poverty is limited to Nigeria. I mean, when I travel through West Africa and East Africa, I see a lot of poverty around. But for me, Nigeria, with our substantial resources, we shouldn't be in this class.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I agree with you entirely now.
Yes.
So you have been in politics between 1999 and 2003.
Yes.
You are a federal representative.
Yes.
In the constituency in Oyo State.
Exactly.
So you did quite a bit of politics.
Yes.
Now, how much of the responsibility for where we are today do you think we should ascribe to politicians?
Well, a substantial part of it, because whatever we say, leadership, you have to take responsibility. Even though, if I want to be a little, go into more details, you will also see that when you are contesting for an election, yes, your constituents sometimes give you a lot of pressure. Their expectations from you as a representative is high. They expect you to take care of almost all the things they need. They want to go for pilgrimage, you have to be there. They want to complete their house, their car broke down, they want to give their child into wedding and give away their child for a wedding. So you will see that a typical representative is under pressure from his constituents. And they don't want to know because they believe that they voted for you. At the same time, as a leader, I think it's also your duty to educate people and let them know how much you can deliver. At the other spectrum, we have politicians who don't care a hoot about their constituents. All they want to do is how to amass wealth. They believe that it's their opportunity to make money because, as they say, out of sight is out of mind. The moment you leave that place, you are gone forever. So
you have no other opportunity.
Yes, again.
So people think it's an opportunity to take care of yourself.
Exactly, for the future. And they believe that...
which is sad.
Yes. And that's why we always advise politicians to always have a second address. You don't... politics to many... I mean, should not be seen as a career. It should just be as a service. You should always have a career that you can fall back on. And it's not all of us that are lucky that way. I mean, when I finished my session in the House, and I did not win I never contested, because from where I came from, it's a, what we call it, turn by turn.
Okay.
We rotate it. 4 local governments.
You are in AD.
AD at that time.
Which is your federal constituency?
Yeah, Iseyin,
Okay,
Tesiwaju,
okay.
Kajola, and Irepo. Yes,
Okay,
4.
okay. So 4
Yeah,
local,
4 local
governments.
governments.
Right.
And the agreement is that each local government, I represented Iseyin.
Okay.
And as I was finishing, Kajola was waiting in the wings.
So there was no point.
No point to contest.
Just let go.
Yes. And what saved some of us was the fact that we had a second address. I still kept my hospital running. And even from my activity in the House, I attended so many conferences for NGOs in the areas of health, energy, environment, and all kind of things. So when I finished I could even recollect that the moment I finished, and I mentioned to one of my colleagues that I wasn't going back. He was so happy. He said, "Oh, we have a job for you." And we got a job with the United States Information Service on how to enact this law against stigma for HIV victims. Okay. Yes, anti-stigma bill. Our duty was how to make sure that bill is passed in all West African countries. Okay. So I just started, so I didn't even feel that I finished everything. Unfortunately, the story is not like that for everybody. We have some of my colleagues who, when they finish their term and they didn't come back, things were not too good for them. So, I mean, I will put it as saying that it's important for politicians to always have a second address. I have something else to do on the side. So that if you're not able to progress politically, you can go back to that. And then secondly, to say that I don't want to defend politicians because I'm a politician, but the truth of the matter is that we also need to do a lot of advocacy for those in our constituents, to let them know the limit of what their responsibility can do. Yeah. Because to them, many of them they don't care a hoot. The amount of demand they put on their representative.
And I think it's because they think that, guys just go to Abuja to amass wealth. So why are they not getting a share of it?
Well, it's not always true.
Of course.
Yeah, you will all, in any organization, in any situation, you always have those who say they are the bad eggs. And then, of course, because when I was there, I could vouch for some of my colleagues who are really hardworking, who really had the interest of the people at heart. Some of them even went extra mile to make sure they satisfy their constituents. But then we may have a few ones who didn't care anything about constituents, and I mean, those are the ones that usually give politicians very bad image. Yes, but by and large, I think the achievements of politicians who, I mean, particularly those who represent their people, is always remarkable. Because when you go back to your constituents, you will see some of the activities. We're able to put in place some structures for the people, whether it's health centers or rural electrification, water boreholes, and all these things. These are some of the things that many of us were able to do. And I'm so happy that even when I go back to my constituency today, despite being out of office for more than 14 years, I'm still welcome. They are so happy to see me. And I always make sure to check some of the constituency projects that I put on ground, health centers, boreholes, and co. And I think it's not too bad for many, right, politicians.
Exactly. Okay, so I wanted you to also talk about some of the current things that is going on in the country. In the last several recent weeks, there's been these killings.
Yes.
It's not entirely new.
Yes.
The current nature of it, especially in Plateau and Benue. It seems, as a matter of fact, the governor of Plateau says this is a genocide, that is going on. And what is worrying me, is that it seems that if we are not careful how we deal with those problems, we might be robbed of our humanity.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, what's your take on some of these things?
Yes.
I mean, you are a humanist, you are a writer, you are an author.
Yes.
How do you think about these things?
Yes, thank you. This is an area where each time it happens, I feel so bad that I sometimes feel that, is there, maybe we can even ask for foreign help. I mean, if we can't handle these problems, because from my own perspective, I mean, they are all multifactorial. The issue of religious intolerance is there, ethnicity issues, and kind of thing. To the extent that we have had some reports of even some of our security agencies are betting this banditry, betting Boko Haram things. There was a news item just 2 days ago, where somebody, I think, was it not in Plateau again, where they vouched that they can confirm that some of our security forces even were aiding the bandits.
Complicity and collusion.
Yeah, and collusion. And some people believe that is why the Boko Haram insurgency issue has not ended. That some people are making money out of it. That it's become business as usual. And so that's why one time I even talked to one of the top-ranking military leader, security leaders, who was my friend, that, okay, now, why can't you just say, okay, we can't handle this. Let's call for help. There's nothing wrong. It's not against our laws. All you need to do is go to the National Assembly and say, look, we need military aid.
Foreign support.
Military support. And maybe that will be the way out, because the way things are going, it's like every day you hear stories of killings here and there, and it's very frustrating for our citizens. I imagine our leaders too, they were going through a difficult time. I mean, because the only thing they do every day is to send condolence messages, and I'm sure they will be saying, this is the only thing you are doing. So that's my own take. That we need
some foreign support. It's interesting because sitting on that chair on this show, the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, I don't know whether you guys met, Right Honorable Yakubu Dogara.
Yes.
Made the same view that, if we need to have some foreign support to clear the mess, that should be done. And of course, you remember that President Goodluck Jonathan actually did that just ahead of the 2015 election to clear the situation in particularly Borno and the Northeast. Now, so the next question I wanted to ask you, still around that issue is that the people who are today in the National Assembly, I don't know whether you follow it. Yes. Do you think they understand their role? Many people have said that the National Assembly has become much of a rubber stamp. I mean, you were there 1999 to 2003 at the very beginning. You were in an opposition party, Alliance for Democracy. How do you compare, the kind of stuff that was going on then and now?
Well, again, we have to look at two issues now. We have to look at party supremacy. Again, we have to look at what some people consider to be, they feel that to be a good Nigerian, you want to make sure that you do everything by yourself. They don't want to involve foreigners. They don't want to involve anybody. So let's look at the issue of party supremacy. If you have a majority in the House, of a party in the House, the tendency is for that majority to toe the line of the party, the ruling party.
The ruling party,
And they believe that that is the way out. And that is why people look at them as if they are a rubber stamping body. I think all over the world, in the parliaments, yes, ruling parties usually have the way. They will say the minority will have their say, but the majority will have their way. And that will give that picture that, these people have been to docile or something like that. So I think party supremacy is an issue. Again, the way to do it, I believe, is that the party, before coming to the representatives from the party that is in power, before coming to the parliament, like we normally do, we only have a caucus meeting and try to resolve issues before going and say, look, are we going to be loyal to Nigeria or are we going to be loyal to our party? Are there issues that are in conflict with our party's position that are detrimental to the future of this country?
Right.
So at the caucus level, we have to resolve that before coming to the parliament. So that when we are passing our rules, our laws, we will not appear that we are a rubber stamping body. At the same time, we will not appear as if we are doing anything that is anti-party.
Right.
So I think it's an issue that needs to be resolved in the caucus level before they come to the parliament. Then the second issue is, for me, I believe, if we can apply for and receive international loans from international bodies.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping us from also receiving help from international military organizations
For the security.
for the security of our country.
But I wanted you to talk about opposition in the National Assembly.
Yes.
Because you were in opposition.
Yes.
How do you assess, because a lot of people, I mean, from what we see, it's as if there is no opposition left in the National Assembly.
Yes.
What's your view?
Well, I think what is happening again is that the opposition parties are weak in themselves. Yeah, I recall when the Labour Party made an announcement that their members should not collect or should not receive the new vehicles to have bought for the members in the House. And their members just ignored that call and said, well, do you have alternative for us? We need to use this vehicle for our official. So I believe that the opposition parties themselves are in disarray and it's reflecting in the performance.
Yeah.
When I was in the House, like you said, that we're an opposition party, our opposition party was solidly on ground. In fact, some people were even saying at that time that it was a glorious time to be in opposition, even though we didn't have all the perquisites that those but we always held meetings. And that was when we stood against the third time elongation plan at that time. It was the opposition party that stood against that.
True.
And were able to kill that plan.
True.
Because we had a strong, and then kudos to our party leaders at that time. The party leaders who were our leaders in our opposition parties were people of integrity, people who are solid and who are principled too. So for me, I will put the blame on the opposition parties. They need to reorganize themselves. They need to find a way of making their members to reflect the views of the parties. But now people are, almost everybody is trying to join the ruling party.
The ruling party.
It means that...
Okay, because of our time, we wrap it up in a few minutes.
Yes.
Two quick things. I wanted you to, if you get the opportunity to advise our current president, what are the issues that you will want him to tackle, or what will you say to him? Because he's going to be 2 years in office next month.
Yes. Well, just like we have been saying, security is a big issue. Let's look at this security issue. Our security men up to the task? Do they need some help? If so, let's ask for help. And then we also look at the issue of economy. Some of the statistics that are coming up seem to show that, from the IMF and World Bank position, they are happy with what is happening in Nigeria. Interestingly, they are saying that, things are picking up. But people are now saying, well, this picking up thing, the statistics are not reflecting on the life of people. Are we going to rely on the statistics from international financial bodies or about what is happening in the country? So we need to resolve that discrepancy. Right. And then, of course, power supply. Power supply is a big thing. Most countries now are going into alternative power sources. Let's look into this. I mentioned the solar power thing in Morocco, where almost 80% of the country is being run on solar. Let's look at all these aspects. I think for me, if you can resolve many of these things, then Nigeria can bounce back.
Right. All right, thank
Yes.
you so much. And I know that most of our audience will not believe that you are turning 70. I think you are about.
I've already turned 70. I was 70 last Monday.
You turned 70.
April 14th.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So how do you manage to still have this boyish look, even though you are just you are now 70?
70. 70 and 1 week.
So what's the secret?
Okay. Well, we thank God for everything. I think I've always been a sportsman. I went to medical school on sports scholarship from my university in Ife, and I still do some sports up to now. Well, now it's limited to only going for long walks, nothing physical. Yeah. And I try to make sure I reduce the stress that everybody is. I mean, usually coming from Nigeria, sometimes I put off the the television when the news are all negative, so I can sleep.
Exactly, in peace.
Well, we think that we have to be hopeful, and I think that's the bottom line. Let's be optimistic, so that we don't get too worried and too depressed about what's
get stressed.
Yes.
You know. Well, thank you so much. I also know that there's a new book that is coming up, Literature Across Borders, which is a collection of review of your work and tribute. You know, we look forward to the public presentation.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for your services, you know, as a medical doctor, a politician, a writer, and the work that you are doing in Accra as the Secretary General of Pan-African Writers Association. Very important assignment. I thank you so much also for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. Thank you so much. Like we always say, Nigeria will prevail because we won't stop. We will continue to talk about the issues. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much. My name is Laolu Akonde. And by the grace of God, I'll see you again at the next edition.